But
Are we? All right. We don't have stickers, Tony.
Yeah, we do. This should be
Okay,
you need
sweet. Yes, it's been so long I don't even have the stickers ready.
I don't even know what stickers mean.
Well, I'm going to tell you a really cool story. So, welcome back to the Soman Podcast. My name is Matt Brozick. I have a really cool guest today, but we are going to talk about stickers first for all of you who actually listen. For the few people,
How many are there?
actually, there's more than you would think. I had a neighbor come down the other day and be like, "Dude, your podcast is cool." I didn't know anybody listened, so now we have at least one fan.
I didn't know anybody listened. I like that.
So this is the Soman Podcast sticker, which this is actually yours.
Awesome.
So
Sweet,
this
thanks.
is made, don't forget that. That is made by a now, is she 13? Crap, Coca. Her nickname's Coca.
13-year-old?
Yeah, shoot, are you 12? I think she's 12. She's my niece. Sorry, Coca. Anyway, so she is a young entrepreneur, and she has a little sticker business.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so when I decided to, Wade and I decided to do the podcast, I'm like, we should get a sticker. So it's kind of cool. So now,
what, we contact her, tell her, send her what, the logo,
you want some
send her
stickers?
anything,
You want some
and just be
stickers?
like,
Oh, yeah. Pastel pencil on the gram. The official pastel pencil on the gram.
Okay.
Tony usually throws it up right about here. No. See, now when you go like this, it'll be right there. It'll be perfect. It's probably too high. I don't know where that camera is. But anyway, so that's the pastel pencil on the gram. We also want to thank Bolt Liming Studios for having us. Tony's behind the box. He's doing a great job. Looking great in headphones. Way to go. And also recently got a puppy, right? Of which I don't know the breed because I can't remember. What was it?
It's the corgi.
Corgi?
Corgi.
Is it Corgi? I don't know.
Corgi?
Corgi.
With a G?
Yep.
I have no idea. I'm a lab owner.
Maybe you should show
I'm
us a picture
boring
so we know what
person.
this is.
Yeah, put a picture up.
I know what a lab looks
Right,
like.
Tony, right here, put the picture up. He'll put it up. It'll be good.
Okay.
Anyway, so the Soman Podcast, we have been vacant. So for anybody who's been wondering where we've been, we've had a few guests that have had to reschedule because of just whatever.
So you have that many listeners that you think people are going to wonder where you're at?
That's what so my neighbor Jason was like, why haven't you put one out? Because we were once a week, and then we went every other week for a little while because we had guest problems. And now,
I'm impressed.
Now we're getting back into it. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, so it's really fun. But anyway, I have Emily Giddings,
Hello.
who is the owner of Giddy Skin.
Yeah.
Right? Did I get it
Yes.
all right?
You got it all right.
Oh my gosh, that's so nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
You think I like to talk to people, but that is the most nerve-wracking part is remembering
Make sure you get their company
their
right.
name and what they do. When I'm supposed to know that. That's
Yeah.
the scariest part.
Yes.
So we know each other a little bit.
A little bit.
Okay, so your husband Clay is a cool dude, and he likes to do things like I like to do, which is outside hunt fish.
Yes,
type
the
of
only thing he
things.
doesn't do is play guitar.
Yes, so I should put that away. But yes, that's very true. But we've got to know each other over the last 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years, yeah.
Kind of. You have 2 kids.
Yeah, people were asking us how we know each other. Preschool, I think originally was where we...
Kindergarten.
And
Wasn't
then
it Mrs. Shaw? Kindergarten.
Yeah, and then kindergarten.
Well, Owen had Mrs. Shaw. Did you have who had one of your kids at Mrs. Shaw?
Yeah, I think it was Liam.
Liam, I think, was in Owen's class. So anyway, we got to know each other.
Yeah.
You were wondering what I was doing in the parking lot when everyone else was leaving, and finally, I think Lisa told you that I was listening to I have an investment call each morning.
Oh, yeah.
And so she's like, is Matt just checking up on everybody? What's going on?
It's like, you do know that was Matt. Maybe it's a pedophile just watching kids going out of school.
No, it's because I have to take notes during it, so I can't drive and take notes. But anyway.
Of course.
So that's how we know
Responsible
each other
driver.
a little bit. And we've gotten together a few times.
Yeah.
And we should get together more because
Yes.
that's fun.
It is.
But anyway, you got to come out not too long ago.
It was a great time.
See the band a little bit.
Yeah.
That was a good time. But anyway, okay, so where we usually start with where you're from, which I've asked you before, but for the podcast listeners, all of the 7 or 8 plus my grandma that are listening, where are you from originally?
I would actually be impressed if you actually remembered.
You're from Iowa.
Okay, so I was born in Mankato, actually.
Oh, crap.
So, but yes, in between Iowa and Minnesota. My parents got divorced when I was young, and so we just kept moving back and forth. And Mankato was always the place that we moved back to. So
Okay.
I consider Mankato home.
Isn't Clay's from Iowa?
He's from Iowa.
Okay. No, where in Iowa?
Tiny little town named Burt.
Bert. That's right. Okay. All right. So how did you guys find each other again?
Yeah, that was one of the moves. We moved to Burt for a short period of time.
To meet him, really?
Well, I was 5. He was 11. We were not on each other's radars at all. So, yeah. It ended up working out, obviously, later in life. But
Did you start dating then?
No. I was really good friends with his younger brother, and
Okay.
then they ended up moving in together, and then we started dating.
So, like, what age-ish?
Maybe we
Should
shouldn't
you
admit.
say that?
Yeah,
okay.
we shouldn't say that.
Okay, so older. You were not.
You're older
You're
than
older.
5.
I'm embarrassing
than 5.
myself. Like I said, it's been 3 weeks since I've done a podcast. I'm going to totally screw this one up, but
That's
we're going to
okay.
try our best.
That's okay.
Okay, so like, tell me a little bit about, like, so were you in Burt for a long period of time? Were
Just
you in
a short,
Mankato? Like,
yeah, just a short period of time, maybe 5 years. And then we moved away to Mankato. I stayed in touch with their family. Like I said,
so how old were you when you moved from Burt to Mankato?
10.
10. That's an exciting age to do that.
Not really.
No.
Yeah, no. I was homeschooled for the majority of my, I guess, junior high
Really?
school years.
I didn't know
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I graduated early. Graduated when I was 16.
Wow.
And then started college at 16.
Jeez.
And then got my registered nursing license and became a nurse. And
I did not know that.
boom, 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 here I am.
How did it take microphones and cameras to figure that out? That seems like that would be something that I would be able to pull out of you a lot easier than that.
Right? Should I lead with that every time I meet someone, Matt? I mean, come on.
Well, okay,
No.
so being homeschooled.
Yeah.
So, like, was that your request? Was that parents? Was
Something mom just decided to try because we lived in a town of 450 people.
Okay.
So I guess I don't really know what the official push for something like that was.
Okay.
And there was plenty of opportunities where she said, okay, if you guys want to go back to school, you can go back to school or you can just stay homeschooled. But I mean, hello. She did make us wake up early with every other person who had to wake up to go to school. But we were done with school by noon. So we spent the rest of our afternoon swimming or, doing sports or whatever the heck we wanted to.
So, what sports did you do growing up?
I mean, I was not good at any of them. But
Okay.
softball and
You seem
swimming.
like an unathletic person.
I mean, I am not a competitive person, and I
Okay.
think that's half my problem. It's
Okay.
just I don't find myself competitive.
Don't you have to be a little bit competitive to
I
be
mean,
an entrepreneur?
a little bit, but like not in the sense of like it's you against me. No.
So, is it you against you then?
Yes,
That's where you're
I'm
competitive.
challenging myself.
Yeah, because there's no
Always.
way you can be an entrepreneur and not be challenged or want to challenge yourself
Yeah,
or
totally.
be competitive. And
Totally.
You have to at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you just don't like challenging other people.
I think part of it is that I don't like being on a team and then maybe doing something that causes the team to fail, if that makes sense. Like we're in this situation, it's a business, it's mine. If I fail at something, I don't really consider it a failure. It's more of something that I learned from, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
But when it comes to team-related sports and activities, I think that, you just don't want to let a group of people down where this is just me, right?
So if you screw up, it's your own fault.
Yeah, I screw up, it's on me. It only affects me
That's interesting.
for the most part.
Or and your family and kids and
Yeah.
livelihood and reputation and just minor things.
Yeah, those are things I don't think about. That's for someone else to worry about.
Okay, so you got your RN,
Yeah.
right? So
Yep.
did you start as a nurse, like in a hospital doing stuff like that?
Yeah, I actually started out in a nursing home of all things. Got a
Okay.
great perspective on life and death and what exactly I don't want at the end of my life. And then I moved on to the endoscopy center and sedated people, put people to sleep, woke them up. And then kind of as a side thing, I just got interested in the aesthetic industry from being exposed to it by doing laser hair removal at first for myself. And my inquisitive mind led me to ask a bunch of questions about lasers for anti-aging and all of that stuff. And then my mind just kept going and learning.
Okay, so back up. Going too fast.
Okay,
So
sorry.
you put people to sleep?
Yes,
So you were the person that did what? Like how do you even do that? I don't know how to do that.
there are special meds out there, Matt.
Well, like are you like doing an IV and then you blast them with whatever it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the only time, maybe the only time I've ever had that happen was when I had my wisdom teeth out.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm like 17 or whatever.
Yeah.
There's this guy named Dan Baker, which he was a couple years older than me in school. So like
Okay.
he's maybe a senior, I'm maybe a freshman or something like that, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, he had this super deep voice, like, and he talked pretty like kind of slower. Not that he was slow, but he just talked slower. And I remember like laying on the on the table or whatever when they were gonna take out my teeth. And all of a sudden I look up and it's Dan Baker right on top of me, like looking over me. And I'm like, Dan, what are you doing here? He goes, I'm in charge of keeping your airway open. Your life is in my hands. And right at that point, I'm like,
You fell
that's the
asleep.
last thing I remember. And I'm just like, oh God, I know you away from here. I don't know if, I don't know. This isn't good.
Did you have your wisdom teeth taken out at an older age?
I was like freshman or something like that.
Oh. But you said he was only 2 years older than you.
Well, whatever it is, it's math.
Oh,
But I'm just, I said 2
Like,
years,
that
and then I was
doesn't,
actually
like,
thinking
seem
about he
like-
was probably a senior, and I was probably a freshman or sophomore. So I
Yeah.
don't know, whatever it was. But
Yeah.
yeah. So, so sedation, that's like one of the only things I've ever had. But I just remember thinking, oh crap, this is bad. I don't want you. No, not my
then you
life in
went to
your
sleep.
hands. And then all of a sudden, just and I'm out.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I came out, like woke up, and it was just super loopy. Had no idea what was going on. My mom said I was just a goofball, like talking about this goofy stuff all the time, making comments about people. Like, oh my gosh, she said I was embarrassing.
For some reason, that does not surprise me.
No,
You
it's
talking goofy?
No, just random. I mean, I say dumb stuff now, and I'm mildly responsible. But no, that was bonkers. But okay, so like, tell me how long you were in the nursing home for.
A year.
Okay, and then you went to the
Endoscopy.
Okay, and then
I
how
was
long were you
there
there?
for a total of 6 years.
Okay, are you married to Clay at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. We got married when I was young. I was 20.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then, were you married in Mankato? Mm-hmm. Okay. So at this point, you're working, and he is doing what? I know he was doing.
He's a foreman for an excavating company. He has done like farm management prior to that,
Okay.
then got back into excavating, and that's what he currently does now.
so now fast forward, you have a couple of kids, which they're twins, right?
Correct.
Okay. So like, was that planned? Or was that not? Or was it just like miraculous that happened? How did that all go? Should I even ask that question? We can cut that out if you want.
No need to cut it out.
Okay.
We had a couple of miscarriages prior to, so we were planning on getting pregnant.
Okay.
Just not with twins. I didn't want twins. My sister had twins before me, and I saw what she went through, and I was like, oh dear God, just give me one, please.
And then poof.
And then poof, twins. And then the pregnancy was bad, and now I'm kind of glad we have two. So
Really?
Yeah, because we're not going to have any more.
So you like just didn't go well, like you didn't feel well, or was like medically not good?
Medically not good. I didn't feel well either. I was puking like 7 to 8 times a day from the very beginning. Then went on bed rest early, and then delivered them 2 months early. And then my organs shut down somewhere in there.
Really?
So just a lot of different things.
Minor things.
Just minor things.
Organs. Whatever.
They're just organs. They recovered 3 years later. But
Yeah. But it was like a major deal, though.
I mean, I don't look at it like that because I'm not much of a worrier. I mean, obviously I had a little bit of medical background, and it's like, okay, it is what it is. I can't change anything about it. So just go with it.
With my wife being a labor and delivery nurse, I'm just way too inquisitive about stuff that I shouldn't know about. But I listen sometimes when she talks, and there's a lot there. But anyway,
Yeah.
Okay, so like, did that change, becoming a mom, did that change your perspective on life at all? You talked about being at the nursing home and changing your perspective on life and death,
Yeah.
what you did and didn't want, to becoming a mom. Was that like a big...
Yeah, I mean, I feel like your life all of a sudden became that much more important because, before if you got killed in a car accident, who cared? Now you'd be leaving 2 kids behind, and who's going to take care of them?
So let's see, they're probably 8?
They are. Mm-hmm.
They're 8? Well,
Yeah.
I can't do mental math, but they're the same age as Owen, so I should
Yeah.
probably remember that. Right? They're the same age as Owen?
I think so. Is
Yeah.
Owen 8?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay. Anyway. Okay, so now we're getting into you being a nurse, and now what you do is not, I mean, you don't necessarily need an RN degree to open up the business you have now, or do you?
I mean, you don't need to be an RN to open up the business aspect of things, but you certainly should have that type of background to do injectables and perform the services, I guess, that I do.
Okay.
I do work with the medical director as well, or actually a couple of them. Great people. And we just have a great old time. I've hired on a couple people as well, so there's now a team of us.
And you
in
have
the business.
Melissa
Yes.
Kruper,
Yes.
who's been on the podcast. She was up on that screen talking to us from Mexico.
Awesome.
Yeah, so she's...
Yeah, life must be rough from her. Sometimes she's in this place, sometimes she's in that place.
Well, she's back in Canada now. I just
Okay.
talked to her.
Yeah.
You talked to her a little bit too, but like some of the stuff that she's talking about, what Canada's doing, is like just bonkers.
Oh, I haven't talked to her about that.
Ask her.
Okay, I will do.
Ask her.
Yeah, I will.
She'll give you a lowdown. It is, I mean,
Insane. COVID related?
just like the amount of government intervention in a normal person's life is, I mean, what if what she's telling me is correct, it's pretty unbelievable.
Interesting.
That would never happen here. So
I mean,
could
never
but
say
you'd have,
never.
you'd have a lot of people with guns that'd be pretty pissed off. In Canada, they're all just like, it's okay, sorry. If we just watch some hockey, have some goulash.
Goulash.
It's true.
So true.
They're very agreeable. They're very nice people.
Yeah.
But where were we? Okay, so as one of the themes that we have that we didn't really even ask for or think of, maybe we thought of a little bit, but is like from an entrepreneurship standpoint. So I found that there's really two different mindsets, and they oftentimes don't overlap, but they change. Like your mind changes from the way that you think from a employee perspective to an employer perspective, and like an entrepreneur perspective, or the creating a business or creating a thing, whatever that might be. So did you have like I'm an employee, now I want to be an employer? Did that happen quickly? Did you even think about that?
No, never. I mean, I'm not even kidding you. Like, before this idea came into my head, I was like, I'm going to be a nurse for the rest of my life, right?
So when did this idea come up to have Giddy Skin?
I think it came about when, like, I was sick of driving back and forth to the places where I was working in the cities and then over in South Dakota. And
Okay, so you were driving there for what reason?
I was working with some medical spas up there, just kind of on days off and weekends and evenings and that sort of thing. So, Clay was never going to move. He came from a town of 450 people. Mankato is huge to him. Let's face
Overwhelming.
it. Overwhelmingly so. Although I would have been very agreeable to leave the city, I think that it was just a choice. That, you know, this is, although the biggest small town ever, it's just something that I think is big enough for him. So, and we're establishing a community here, which is great. But then it was like, okay, I can either do this here or I got to let it go. You know, you want to spend more time with your kids and your family. Granted, does a business do that for you? Not necessarily, but I learned that after the fact, right?
You had a good heart.
Yeah.
I should say. That's a bad way to put it.
But yeah, I mean, then that came about and I was like, okay, I mean, let's do this. A couple, events in life that just was like, okay, like this is the right choice. This is, something we're just going to give it a go. And if it fails, like, I mean, I learned something, right?
Like what events? Or can you share?
I mean,
you don't have to if you don't want to.
No. I mean, there isn't like anything like super huge, but just it was like a monotonous job. Like I like the endoscopy center and everybody that I worked with, but it was doing the same thing over and over. And I recognized that the thing that I loved about my job most was meeting new people, hearing about new businesses in town, just by like, hey, where do you work? What do you do? That type of question that you do to people. And then they say, I work for this person or that person. And you're like, I never even knew that company existed. That's awesome. And so that's what I liked most about my job, which you can do that a lot of different places. It doesn't have to be at the same, day-to-day monotonous job.
So did you start your current business as your part-time and it went to your full-time, or did you just cut the ties on the old stuff and started this business?
I went down to part-time in endoscopy first, and that was the summer before they started school, and so I really wanted to spend the summer with them. At that point, yes, I was doing a ton of business research, the business aspect of it. Where are you going to land yourself? What location are you going to do? I mean, obviously, there's a ton that goes into that. And so I did some of that over the summer before they started school. And actually, I opened in September when they started school. So it actually just, the timing worked out. It was good timing.
So how much research did you do? Like, tell me the process of educating yourself to knowing what you needed to do to put your sign out and say, hey, I'm here.
Yeah. So I met with the Small Business Development Center here in this building, actually. And they were super just great about saying, okay, you need a business plan that gets you a loan, or at least you can go into banks and financial companies to get a loan. I wanted to purchase my equipment. I didn't want to rent the equipment. So that requires a loan, obviously. And then
Did it scare you?
To get a loan?
Borrowing money?
Borrowing money? I guess not, no. Like, it scared Clay more than anything, but, I mean, apparently my brain is a risk taker. I learned that about myself.
Is Clay more of like a black and white like number type brain versus a?
He's very more analytical.
Let's just do some stuff.
Yes, he's analytical. He wants to know everything that's going to go wrong before it goes wrong, and then have figured out a way to solve anything that could go wrong before it goes wrong. And I'm just like, let's worry about it when the problem occurs, and then we'll muddle our way through it.
Which is why you and I aren't foremen for a construction company.
Exactly.
Because we'd be like, oh crap, we shouldn't have put that there. I'm sorry, dig that back up. I'm sorry, that was wrong. It's so true. Because like Lisa
awesome.
and Clay would be like, page 47 said that doesn't go there. I'd be like, I didn't read the book. What are you talking about? I was busy doing other stuff.
Oh gosh, that's so true.
That kind of seems like it. You like when you and I talk, it seems like you and I are similar in that fashion where it's like you just jump off the cliff and figure it out.
But if you think about it though, back to your point of saying like there's two different types of people. Like anytime you meet a business owner, you can tell that they have the same mind. Like if you come to them just like I did with you, like Matt, I'm like super struggling. I'm thinking about changing things up, marketing, so I can condense all of these different things together. So not 5 different people are doing them, but one person's doing them. You're like, I've got somebody, like stuff like that. I've talked to somebody else about it not that long ago, and they're like, I'll create a marketing company for you. I'm like, no need to do that. But your business mind is constantly moving. Like, do you have something in your brain that could solve that other person's problem, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they should just take the risk.
So do you feel yourself, let me back up. Do you feel like you're a creative person?
Do I have like 3 other business plans in my head? Yeah, absolutely.
Do you just feel like you're a creative person though?
Yeah, if you look at my house, you'll see I've got several different paintings in my house that were done by me.
Okay.
And I constantly feed that into the kids too. So
To be a creative person.
To be creative, yeah.
When
Use
you
your
were-
imagination.
When you were growing up, did you feel like that was encouraged, discouraged, or just not even a thing?
Kind of a little bit of both. I mean, my dad was like a world of possibilities. You can do anything, you can be anything, like go out there and grab it, Did a lot of traveling, a lot of international traveling with my dad's side of the family growing up. And so the world seemed so big and possibilities seemed everywhere, right? And the artsiness kind of comes from my dad's side of the family as well. My grandpa was very artistic, and yeah, I am so intrigued by arts. But obviously I went to school for sciences, so those weren't so unintriguing to me either.
What I find interesting, so growing up, I graduated from Mankato East in '05, if I remember right. Anyway, the point is like being a creative person wasn't like a thing that I even remember being talked about. Or, I mean, it maybe was, but it was like, I played football and stuff. It was like, that wasn't, the creative side just wasn't necessarily nourished, if that makes sense.
But didn't you do music then?
I did. So like I started playing guitar when I was maybe 8th grade,
Okay.
9th grade. And like that was the turning point of like finding being a creator. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was really interesting is I don't think I've introduced you to Dave yet. Dave Newell? No, that'll be in another introduction.
Okay.
Next time you're telling me all the problems, I'll be like, stop.
I got a guy.
But he was really interesting. He's like a business coach for me. So like all the problems that you can't take to normal people, I just blurt everything to Dave. And you can say stuff that you just can't say to normal people.
Sounds like a guy I need to talk to.
Yes, where you just can, like, you're not complaining. You're just like, he asks, so what's going on? And then all of a sudden, 20 minutes later, he's like, okay, that's some stuff. I wrote down the 6 things that you just did. Now let's solve all of them.
Got it.
And it's really fun. But the point is he told me something that I'll never forget. And this is only like 4 years ago. But he goes, I get it. And I'm like, get what? He goes, you're a creator. And I'm like, what? No, nah. Like, I was almost afraid to be a creative person because that was like non-businessy. Like in my brain, it was like businesses are like numbers and, profits and losses. And like that was like it's revenues and expenses. And like that's how I thought.
Yeah.
And then he goes, this is it. You're not satisfied unless you're creating something. And that opened a world to me that I had not realized that I lived in. And it was so much fun. So now, like, living in that world and saying to myself, like, it's okay that I don't remember, like, if I necessarily go to, it's a bad example, if I take my kids to the dentist and I don't remember all their birthdays lickety split because I'm thinking about other stuff, and the gal's like, okay, so who's the patient? And like, oh, that's Merrick. What's his birthday? I'm like, oh, crap. 10, 28, 12? No? Okay, that's not the one.
This is my child.
Yeah, I'm like, I swear this is my kid. And they're looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, but that's not the way my brain works. I'm always looking at things as not as they are, is what we can change that to be, to do something different, to be more productive, be more efficient, to create something that brings value in other ways.
Yeah.
And I think, to your point of entrepreneurs think a different way, you can recognize that in other people, that they, and that's what's so fun about meeting other people that are like that, because you're like, oh my God,
you're like me. Yeah.
Because you recognize it.
Yeah.
And it's not something necessarily that, I mean, you can learn it a little bit. It's almost just intrinsic.
Yeah.
It's there or it's not.
I didn't really know that existed, though. I think I've learned a lot about myself since opening the business because of that. Like, there's so many different, I mean, it's okay not to be able to do it all. Like, I don't have the capability of doing it all. And I think at first, like, I thought, I need to wear all of these hats and I need to do them 100% well. But then you realize you can't. Like, you physically do not have time in a day to be able to do that all. And so it's like, pick out the things that you're really good at and then pass off all the crap that you're not. So
It's freeing.
it is. Yeah.
very
When you can
freeing.
recognize what your strong suit is and what's not your strong suit, like, it is really freeing. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, like, this makes my life feel more organized even though I'm not doing it all.
And it's hard to do that because at the core of someone who's creating something is there at least has a minor ego. You know what I mean? Like, even if you're painting, you have some type of buy-in to this thing that you're doing. And so there's some type of ego, and to not be able to do all of it or actually say to yourself, I'm not physically capable or mentally capable of doing it all.
Yeah.
That's hard to do, but it's freeing when you start thinking that way.
Yeah. Definitely.
It is
And
very
accepting it.
Yes. Yeah.
What is
It's
this, a
hard.
therapy session, Matt?
Maybe. Usually therapy is not public information, but anyway.
Hey, whatever. If it works us through our crap, we're good, right?
Well, you should be on the phone with Dave. You should hear some sessions. Dave, if you're listening, hi. He knows. But no, it is really difficult as a business owner to try to do that and be a mom and a wife and a community member and volunteer and do like all of that stuff. That's not easy to balance.
Yeah.
Especially in the world we live in where just things are busy.
Yeah.
Everybody's everywhere.
Everybody's everywhere.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so back up now. So you wanted to start this business. We had talked originally that you didn't like challenging other people or competing against other people. You like competing against yourself.
I mean, I chose all sports growing up. Like, swimming, it was something like you wanted to beat your own time, right? Like, it wasn't, you were a part of a team, but ultimately in the end, it was like, did I do 1 second better than the last race that I did? And then I liked water sports because they weren't competitive. I liked downhill skiing because it wasn't competitive. You know, like, I like being athletic and I like doing things, but doing things that are not competitive, which I see that in my daughter too. Like, she likes to do all of these things, but she doesn't want to have to fail anybody else. Imagine that. She also informs me she wants to be a boss, so watch out, world.
So do you have a fear of failure?
No, because I look at failure as not necessarily something that's a bad thing, but something that no matter what area you fail in, you're learning from it. I had the opportunity to go out to New York this last summer and July, and we went and saw a castle. Long story short, anyway, there was a entrepreneur who had started the Waldorf Astoria. In a letter that he had written to one of his employees, he had said in the letter, and if you make mistakes, we'll learn from your mistakes. And he didn't say, if you make a mistake, you'll learn from your mistake. It's, if you make a mistake, we will learn from your mistake. Just kind of taking ownership that it's okay for you to make a mistake. It's okay for you to fail. we'll learn from it. And so I've just kind of taken that at heart and just like, yeah, there are going to be times when we fail or make a mistake. We're going to learn from it. I mean, nothing's that bad, right? It's not life or death.
Sometimes it seems that way.
Sometimes it seems that way.
On the spot?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like on the spot it does. But like in hindsight, like you learn from it. Like
Yeah.
if you don't ever walk any hard, then how do you know how to cope with hard when it comes?
And that's so interesting too, because I think there's so many people now today that are trying to like insulate themselves from anything going wrong. And I think that's the exact opposite of how you figure out who you are,
Yeah.
what you should do,
Yeah.
what brings fulfillment in your life. Like you need to fall
We're
flat on your
recognizing
face, like way on your face, hard,
Yeah.
multiple times, where you can just be like, oh, I mean, you've probably had those drives where you're just driving home and you're just like, oh my gosh, that was bad. I didn't do that. Was not good. But then the next day you get up and you just go after it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's fun
Yeah, it is fun.
in the long term.
Yeah.
Like
No.
it's on the spot.
Yeah.
Cool.
On the spot, not so much. In the long term, you learn from it. Makes you a better person.
So you've been doing your business for how long?
September 2018. So it is going on 3 years.
Wow. So are there other businesses that are like yours that are in the area, or are you pretty much exclusive?
I think there's two. One came after me and one was before me.
So what is it that you do?
So we do facial aesthetics and laser treatments, and now we've entered the world of body contouring. So
What does that mean?
So we currently have a machine that has the capability to eliminate fat and build muscle at the same time. And in the industry of beauty or aesthetics, people want to look and feel better about themselves, right? So this addresses body fat areas or muscle loss areas and targets that specifically versus like other laser treatments that we do is like laser hair removal, breaking apart brown spots, trying to put this in layman's terms for you. Breaking apart brown spots, you sit a lot in the sun all the time. It appears as if you wear sunscreen, which is great. You should. Everybody should prevent skin cancer. And then if you do have any sun damage, then we also can take care of that.
So, like, tell me the typical person that's walking in through your door. Like, do you have a demographic? Is it like, dudes like me that are coming in for whatever body contouring?
I do have guys that come into me. Mainly they're there for injectables like Botox or filler. I do have a couple that like to utilize the body contouring device, and most of them are if they're in for any laser treatments, it's typically laser hair removal.
So what does Botox even do?
So Botox relaxes the muscle, causes your muscles not to move. So I'm frowning at you, but my muscles aren't coming together. Now, if you were to do it, your muscles come together. Yep. So you can put Botox in muscles, cause them to freeze. So lines and
Do
wrinkles.
you lose your facial expressions at
Did
that
I
point?
lose my facial expression, Matt?
I don't know, but look at your camera and we'll just put side by side, move our faces around.
No, you can still express yourself.
Okay.
You just don't have the continuous movement of your muscles making those muscle contractions, causing your forehead skin to come together, or some people will do the crow's feet. It really depends on what you're looking to target.
Okay.
Botox or neuromodulators, as they're known on the market, are mainly placed in the upper face, but you can certainly inject stuff on the lower face as well, depending on what you're hoping to accomplish.
So when you have someone come in, you basically have a consultation that says, what...
Yeah, the first time I see them, I always do a consultation with them.
Okay.
Consultations, we usually have enough time to do service at the same appointment if they want to, but obviously there's no obligation. But it's just a place where they can kind of talk about different things that they want to work on, and then we can kind of talk about how we can, work through it for them, whether it's skincare or whether it's fine lines and wrinkles, whether it's they want Botox, whether they want to fill something back up. Filler's different than Botox, where if you're starting to sag a little bit, we can lift you up a little bit, or we can fill some lines a little bit. And that
So eventually do they kind of just look like this after a while?
Not if you have a well-trained injector. That's not what we're going for.
Because you see, okay.
You want it to look natural. You don't want it to look overinflated.
Yeah. So, okay, so, because you see, like, I don't even know who these people are because I pay no attention to it. Like, you might,
They're people that you pass every single day.
yeah, well, no, I'm saying, like, you see, like, okay, you're walking through the grocery store, which is less and less because people just deliver it to you now. Like, you see whatever magazine cover, and these, like, people, like, I can't even remember who they are, but I look at Celebrity A, And I'm like, you know what? 12 years ago, I thought you were kind of cute. And now you look like you've just been blasted in the face with everything. Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, I don't think you're going to do that. But, like,
There are certain people that will come in and have that as a desired effect. There are times that I've had to say to people, sorry, no, like, I'm not doing that. I'm not staking claim on any part of your
where
face.
their lips are now, like, the size of, like,
Yeah.
their whole face or something like that.
And when they leave there because they got it somewhere else, you're just like, oh my God, like, please, nobody see them. I don't want anybody to know they walked out of here.
So how long does it, like, is a Botox filler or whatever it might be, is that something that you do every week, every month, once a year?
Yeah, so it changes depending on what you're getting. But with neuromodulators, it's usually 3 to 5 months. And
What a
then
modulator?
Botox.
Yeah, what's the correct, or whatever term you just used?
So Botox is kind of like Kleenex. You don't go to the store and buy a tissue for your nose, right? Everybody calls it Kleenex, but there's Kleenex and Puffs and the off-brand of,
okay.
whatever.
Okay.
So there's the same thing with Botox. Everybody knows it as Botox, but
Yep.
there's other neuromodulators out there like Dysport and Jeuveau and Zeman. And so the industry has other ones out there, but most people speak in the language of Botox.
I get it.
Collectively, they're called neuromodulators.
Okay, all right.
So, yeah.
So, like, if I come in there and I'm like, hey, you need to fix, like, all these problems, all whatever, like, you're just basically going to say, based on what is ever going on, you need to be here every 6 months or 3 months or...
I mean,
Once a
yeah,
week,
it depends
3
on,
times a day.
obviously it depends on what you're hoping to accomplish. I'm not going to tell somebody you have to do this.
You're going to make recommendations.
Yeah, make recommendations of it. And then filler lasts usually a year to 18 months, depending on what type of filler you're getting, depending on where you're placing it.
Okay.
But, yeah. So that's just that lasts a little bit longer. So every year they would need a maintenance, I guess.
Okay. So, what makes you like to do that?
I think my artistic side, as you like to point out. Because you have to be able to look at someone's face and like see what they need, right? You have to be able to be like, okay, so no one person's face has complete symmetry.
So, do you look at me and you're like, I pulled that eye a little bit out or something?
Not at all. But like you have a long side to your face and a short side to your face. And I can differentiate that with an individual. And I mean, even when we're injecting, you're not going to have two symmetrical sides to your face.
So
based
that's
off what I
normal,
do.
like-
It's totally normal.
Because I've looked at myself one time, and I've noticed this, like, my eyes and my face are not aligned.
Yeah, that's normal.
Okay, good. I thought I would, like, had a chromosome missing or something like that.
Could be.
Good.
But I'm not
That's a
judging it off
different
your
problem.
face.
Because my face is fine. It's my brain that's an issue. Oh my gosh. Okay, so, like, what is so you have your place downtown here, which is not very far, right?
Correct.
So do you have another location, or is that the main one right now?
That's the main one.
Okay.
Don't have another location.
So are you looking to expand? You said you were talking about hiring new people?
Yeah, we've got a couple RNs that have come on board
Okay.
to inject as well, which is great, or to do services, which is awesome.
Okay.
And as far as expansion goes, I mean, like, I don't want to say no because I'm an entrepreneur and, my business brain always goes.
Yeah.
But I don't think so. Not at this time.
Do you find it, maybe this is a good question or bad question, I don't know if it's going to be, but whatever. So entrepreneurs are rare.
Are they?
Well, they are. We're super rare. Like, extremely rare. Like, I would venture a guess that only 15% of the, like, populace is ever wanted or has ever started a business. Agree or disagree?
I would probably agree with you, but I guess, like,
I've never.
I
looked
look
it up.
around and I watch like all of these like logoed vehicle. I was just up in the cities today and I'm like thinking there's a business owner behind that company. There's a business owner behind that company. Like there's a business owner behind that company. And I'm just like, holy crap, there's so many companies out there.
But think about how many business owners there are in that company and how many employees are in that company and the ratio between the two.
Yeah, I suppose.
My
That's
guess is, I don't know. Tony can maybe look that up if he's not busy back there. But so it's unusual to be an entrepreneur. It's unusual to be a younger-ish, whatever that is. I don't know. You didn't want me to talk about age earlier, so I'm not going to. But like a younger female entrepreneur that's not typical. Do
I feel atypical? I mean, not for that reason, no.
No? Okay, so what do you feel atypical for?
Nothing.
Nothing? There's no real reason?
No reason.
So do you want, like, as you talk about with your kids, I mean, your children are 8, so they're not like, they're not maybe.
And to be honest with you, I try to keep them out of this world entirely.
out of your world is
Yeah.
in the business world?
Yeah. Well, not necessarily the business aspect of things, but like I mean, I'm kind of very consciously aware. Like, I don't want Lucy watching me look in the mirror. I don't want Lucy watching me do any of my services to anybody else. I don't want to build up this thing that she needs to change herself before she ever becomes herself, if that makes sense, body image wise. So I get a little nervous with her being around the industry and that sort of thing. I mean, if she knows that I help people with their acne, fine, whatever. I'm cool with that.
Yep.
But I don't really want her to know all of the other things that I do. Is she going to come across it way sooner than I think she is because there's podcasts out here that I'm doing with you? I mean, maybe. But I don't know. There's something about that really I'm very cautious of, I guess you could say.
So what's the line between, do you have a specific age that you have to be able to come in? Or
No,
is it
not at all.
Okay.
An adult, 18,
Okay.
I would say, but I see quite a few 18-year-olds, to be honest with you, which it really surprises me. But, a lot of times it doesn't necessarily mean they're getting injectables.
So that's a good question. I don't want, I have 2 daughters. I don't want, and, Isla's 6 and Greta's, she's 13, 14 months old. But
Yeah.
I don't want them to feel they have to do outside stuff to feel internally happy.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So is that a struggle at all for your business when those are outside, what's the right word? Those are things from the outside to control what they feel like inside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you're asking if when they come in, I struggle with them coming to me or see that?
Let's say you
see
a 22-year-old that comes in and you're like, you look awesome.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my gosh, I have a minor wrinkle. It's like, babe, you're doing fine. You don't need any of that.
Do I get to say that? No.
Probably can't say. I'm probably being sexist by just saying babe, but whatever.
That's okay.
Whatever.
I do struggle with that to some degree, but they're getting fed by social media and they're getting fed by Facebook. If you look at it that way, I'm part of the problem, right? Mm-hmm. Because I hire social media people to put this stuff out here just as much as the aesthetic industry does all over, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I hate social media.
Me too.
Absolutely freaking hate it. But it also is what's necessary for a business, especially in this industry. Mm-hmm. So am I playing that game? Yeah. Do I believe that girls should be influenced by those sorts of things that they look at online? No.
That's a
But
hard
are
line.
they? It's yeah, totally.
And it's not like whether you're going to or not, they're still going to be consuming that.
They're still going to be, whether they're coming to me or they're going to someone else, they're still doing it.
So then the thing would be to be a good enough parent to instill.
Yeah, they're never getting a cell phone.
Oh my gosh.
Did you watch Social Dilemma on Netflix? If you watch
have.
Social Dilemma on Netflix, your kids will never have social media. I mean,
gosh.
no thank you. Flip phones. When can those come back?
Those should come back right away. My grandparents have a flip phone, and so I had to go over to their house to figure something out on their email and their iPad. They needed 2-factor authentication, and I flipped out, I grabbed their phone, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it opens. I'm touching the screen. I'm like, oh, that's right, it's not a touch screen.
And then when texting, you have to hit the button 3
it's
times to get the letter you
T9,
need.
So it's
Yes.
you got to figure that out. It's not actual letters. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. But those, that was so much more of an innocent phone in every way possible.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
now we have just mini computers that this
all the
is
time.
30 times greater than whatever they took to the moon the first time.
But yet I can't not have one. Mm-hmm. I can't not have. I mean, my life is on my phone. Mm-hmm. I mean, my schedule, my calendar, everything. Mm-hmm. My grocery list. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't write a grocery list on a piece of paper because God knows it's going to be left at home.
My muskie list of all the stuff I'm packing tonight is on here.
Exactly.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, try to remember that.
No, can't.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I'm doing tomorrow. I do, actually, tomorrow.
I was going to say,
I have a muskie tournament. Yeah, sorry. Most days. I have to look at what in the world I'm actually doing the night before.
Yeah, totally.
But so do you think at some point, this is off topic now, but so do you think at some point, there's going to be, society's going to go so fast with phones and instant this and all the time that people are going to eventually just be like, I don't know if this is the greatest anymore, and slow down?
I think we're already there.
Slowing down?
I think we're already there. Only from the standpoint of 2020 hit, right? Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people during that time frame recognize the importance of time and family and where they want to allocate their time. Did some people learn anything in that? No. I mean, like, absolutely. There are those exceptions that are like, oh my God, I can't wait to go a million miles a minute again, right? But I think there's a lot of people that I feel like have taken the opportunity to slow themselves and at least recognize, like, where they're spending their time. But
Our most valuable resource.
yeah. I mean, you'll just notice that in, like, magazines coming out or newspapers going out or that sort of thing. I mean, I guess maybe I'm old school. I could totally be that. But I appreciate, like, sitting and reading a newspaper and sitting and reading a magazine because it's paper. But I also like books. So.
There was a study that I saw, and I can't remember where it was, so I can't cite it, but there was a study that I saw that you retain, it was a substantial amount, like 2 times as much information reading it when it's tactile in front of you instead of on a screen. So they took a bunch of people and, like, you read the same article on your phone versus you read the article piece of paper printed out or in a magazine or a periodical or something like that. And the people that read it with the tactile physical contact took way more out of the article than did the phone people, which I think is interesting.
That is interesting.
I don't know why, but there was a conclusion, but I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Because I was probably reading it on my phone and I wasn't paying attention.
That's probably it.
That's probably what it was. But I think, to me, everything is cyclical. Like, I mean, you could go down. I'm a big fishing nerd, but, like, even fishing, like,
You are?
oh my gosh, it's bad.
No
it's so bad. I can't even
idea.
get through my life without a day without thinking about it. But, like, everything is. I'm a history and philosophy student. Okay, like, I look back at history and everything is cyclical, and it usually happens about every 80 years. There's 4 generations, and it usually just kind of goes like this. Now, it might look a little different, might taste a little different, but it's generally about
But
the same
technology
stuff.
and cell phones and all that hasn't even been around 80 years.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So the other thing to consider is like there's so many technologies that change the way that humans interacted. The Industrial Revolution was a gigantic leap forward. Even though to us it looks literally like snails barely moving on the pavement, at the time, a train going across the United States was like warp speed. People, I mean, that was bonkers. Where you could get from, let's just say, St. Louis or Chicago to New York in a couple days. That was like bonkers because it usually took months to get there.
Yeah.
So you look at the exponential pace of life at that point, and this is at the end of the 1800s into the 1900s, the second half of the 1800s, really, and like that was a substantial thing. You look at the printing press during the Industrial Revolution, which is in the late 1700s. Like that stuff changed the way that people consumed media, where you could actually have a periodical that you could produce every day, and you could just sit there with a thing and just print it over and over again. To me, this is just another alliteration of that, or iteration, whatever. But to me, at some point, I think that people are going to want to slow down, just like you were talking about, because at a certain point, you go so fast with your life. If you don't stop and take a mental picture every once in a while, you're going to wonder what the hell happened and you're 80 years old. You know? So I don't know if I have really any point of that, but I think at some point that
I mean, I suppose it depends on like what circle you live in. I mean, you know, to the technology point, a lot of people went to technology because of school, right? So then technology got thrown further into people's faces. So I guess if you look at it from that standpoint, you could say that technology is not going anywhere. I don't think it ever will be gone forever, obviously, but that could have shoved people further down the rabbit hole of stick your face in front of a screen. But then you've got, I feel like we live in maybe a circle of people that are really just evaluating, like, where do you spend your time? Who do you spend your time with? What are you accomplishing or gaining from the people that you spend your time with? And how do you want to be remembered in life by those who are closest to you? And to that point, Clay and I are actually making that change of, you know, he's going to come work for the business because essentially, like, he spends a lot of time out of the house, away from the house, and away from the kids and I. And so more time. We want more time. Like, there's no reason why we can't have it. We just have to create that space for it. And it's on us to do that. So, yeah.
And kudos to you to actually ask yourself the existential questions of that.
Yeah.
Because those are not questions that most people want to ask or deal with because they're difficult.
Well, I mean,
sometimes you
and
might not like the
society has
answer.
made us think that we need this and we need that and we need this and we need that. And it's like, I've never been one that needs a ton of money. I don't need a ton of things. I'm not a very materialistic person. I mean, despite what my job might say about me, but I just like time with people and building deep connections with people and relationships. And Clay and I both love serving, but when you don't have any time to serve anybody, you can't serve people and then it doesn't feed into you, right? So you just need more time. Well, how do you create that is by you have to take charge and actually make it happen. So
what's interesting about what drew me to talk to you today is, and I think you just said it in a roundabout way, is the reason you're doing this and the reason Clay is doing this is because at the very bare bones of it, it's fulfillment. Is that correct? Like you said you enjoy creating connections with people. You enjoy serving others and providing value to other people.
yeah.
And so I think at the very core of every good person, every entrepreneur, and what I think is maybe lacking in general society is people that they're trying to find that fulfillment in like playing Candy Crush on this thing. You know what I mean? It's like that's never going to bring
Never going to bring
or like buying a boat, which I shouldn't give as an example because whatever.
Dude, I bought a boat. And you have two of them.
my okay, so here's a great example. People ask me all the time, they're like, so how can like muskie fishing bring you like fulfillment as an example? For me, muskie fishing, or just like I just found a thing. I have another client who her thing is riding horses. Like that's her thing, right? It's irrational. You spend too much money on it, but it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, it's like finding time in your life to be quiet. Just enjoying what's around you. To me, it's being outside. It's being in a boat. It's being quiet. And just having the time to reflect on who you are, where you're at, what are you doing, what are you succeeding at, what are you failing at?
Yeah.
Are you a good dad, husband? Are you good or good or bad business owner, father? I mean, like all of those things. And sometimes you get good answers and sometimes you don't.
Yeah, but at least you're sitting and taking the time to evaluate that.
And that's exactly what you're talking about
Yeah.
with you and Clay, is evaluating how your life is going, how you want to be remembered by your kids, your family, those people closest to you. I think that's very cool because not all businesses are trying to do just that. Most are trying to let's just make money. But you know what? People see through that instantly. It's like if you're just trying to make money, people see way through that because things are so transparent now.
Yeah.
Google it. It's like you'll find out exactly what they're making, what they're doing. It's all this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose.
Instantly.
Yep.
So to have, I'm just way on a rant now, but to have that personality behind the business is probably likely. I've never been through your business. I haven't had any laser hair removal or anything like that lately. But so the point of that is, I think the reason that you've been successful is because at the very base of it is you're trying to serve others and derive fulfillment, not derive money. That might be the outcome, but fulfillment is at its very base.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, what should we talk about now?
Yeah.
Got super philosophical.
That's good.
So, what do you like to do when you're not, spending a zillion hours at Giddy Skin and running around doing business
adventuring and traveling is absolutely like on the top of my list, our list. Maybe I've done way too much traveling this last year and a half, but traveling is fun. I grew up with it. Been to, I don't even know how many countries now, but 14 different countries by the time I was 16. So it's kind of something that was in me, is to want to adventure. A lot of people, now nobody will give anybody grief for being homeschooled because obviously we went through 2020, 21. But back then, a homeschool was like, you're socially awkward, you don't know how to carry a conversation, and I do not want to meet you, right? But you can get cultured going to high school in a big city, or you can get cultured by traveling the world. And we had an opportunity to do that growing up quite a bit. And so it was a great way to get cultured. There's a lot out there. There's a lot to explore and see and do. And in your case, you like history, right? It's so much better to walk it and to see it and to do it than just to read about it in a history book, right? So that's probably number one. And then boating is another thing. Clay and Liam both love fishing, and we all have gotten into water sporting, which is great. So just that time on the lake with family is good. And then in the wintertime, we try to keep ourselves busy with hitting the slopes, because if you're going to live in Minnesota, you got to know how to do a winter sport.
Yes, you got to be occupied doing something.
Of course, Clay considers ice fishing a winter sport.
It is totally a winter sport.
Tend argue. What are you working out? Your thumb, your wrist,
No,
muscles.
it's more like
that's about
this.
it. Or like
It's
this.
biceps. It's like this. Just the glamour muscles.
Yeah.
No, okay, so out of all your travels, what are some of the highlights of things that you've seen or done, or what adventure that was like, that is a big memory?
That's a big memory. So we had the opportunity to go to Israel when I was younger, and we did a lot of traveling in that trip to a few different countries and doing Egypt and Jerusalem. Those are really awesome. I was young. I was Lucy and Liam's age actually when I went, but surprisingly, I still have memories of getting on a camel and going up the mountain and at 2 a.m. and just random things, that we can appreciate about that trip. Of course, I probably would look at them from a different perspective being an adult than I did as a child, but it was a cool trip to go on. And then I did a medical type trip to Africa with my mom. At one point, I've been there twice, and that was very interesting to just see healthcare in a rural. I don't even like to say rural community, because rural community in the United States is so much different than a hut in the middle of, warm desert area in Africa.
Way different.
Way different. And then just going to different places where, they've never heard of clothing. So, you're walking in this community and everybody is just butt naked. And it's normal and it's their life. And that's what I mean by you can get real cultured in different countries than, we didn't experience everything from the tourist aspect of things. We immersed ourselves in the culture when we went. So I think that's what was so fun about it. And very memorable.
I can imagine that had to be very memorable. So how old were you when you were in the nudist colony?
That particular trip was 16, and then I went back again 10 years later.
Wow. So was it the same place?
No.
Or-
Kenya and Uganda were the countries that we went to, but different villages.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, within that.
So when you talk about, with your doing stuff with your kids and time, so do you want to do the same things with them?
I do. I don't know in what capacity.
Yeah.
It's on my bucket list of things to do. Obviously, I had done so much traveling when I was younger, and now is the age where they're at. But, we have this stupid thing called COVID going on right now. And so, traveling internationally is a lot more difficult than it was, when I was younger. But yeah, Clay and I have kind of always had this vision. Please don't judge us if it never comes to fruition. But digging water wells in other countries for different areas that don't have any water. It was something I was introduced to when I was younger in obviously very poor countries. And obviously with his excavating experience, this has just kind of come about in our mindset and in our world. So someday, maybe. I've been trying to get a hold of groups that already do it, but it's been 2020 and 2021.
I got a guy for that.
Oh, of course you
I'm
do.
not kidding. I 100% do. Yeah.
So that's something that we're passionate about getting on our plate, but again, we've needed more time. So
Yeah, remind me after we get done. I'll send you the email. There's another guy that does it. It's
Okay.
awesome. Anyway, yeah, we can move beyond that. But so what is, out of all the things that you do, mom, all the hats that you wear, wife, all of that, where do you see yourself in 3 years or 5 years? Do you think that far? What's next for Giddy Skin or Gidding family or you or?
I'm not really sure, and I don't know why, but for some reason talking about it is okay, what happens if I talk about it and then none of this happens, right?
Oh, we got to throw out ideas.
Right? Yeah.
That's what we do. 95% of what you and I just come up, the ideas of what we come up with, never come to fruition because they're super stupid. But the
It's so
5% is outstanding.
It's so true. I do have a couple other business ventures in
Okay.
mind.
Okay.
One of them is a little bit further along than the other. I'm not willing to share either one of them with you right now. But like there's always something kind of in my plate. It would cause me to have to take a step away from where I'm at right now, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Unless Clay took charge of it, which could be a possibility. I don't know. We don't know that right now.
So it would be very interesting to walk in to like not knowing you or whatever, and just like knowing your services and like the menu of services, and then like walking in like Clay's there, like his hat on.
He
and
will
his
not
beard.
be in that position ever.
Like, welcome to Giddy Skin. What do you need? That would be like, wow, I didn't think that was the person that was going to greet me. I'm in charge.
I'm in charge. Yeah. Never mind my camo attire. No, I'm just teasing. He knows he's going to be wearing a button-up shirt to work every day, so.
Okay, good. It could be a camo button-up shirt.
No.
Yeah, my wife has camo stuff.
I will write the dress code to say something different.
I guess. Fair enough. Fair enough. So, okay, so like when you think about the future of like doing stuff, like do you find that is it running the business or is it creating the business that you find so rewarding?
Probably creating the business that I find rewarding, to be honest with you. I mean, the business aspect of things, there's an element of it that has always been overwhelming, I think, from the very beginning, because I always keep thinking I'm going to have more time, but then I don't get more time. And so then everything on my plate seems overwhelming, right? Well, the thing that could get passed off onto somebody else is technically all the business stuff, right? If you have the person that you trust and an analytical mind behind it, if that makes sense. So we're passing the business hat off to somebody else, and that's okay. Then I can actually do what I like to do in the business, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I can use my artsy brain, and I can continue to serve people and that sort of thing. But I did enjoy the aspect of watching it all come together, too. Like that, this is my idea, now watch it happen, you know? I mean, there were, of course, a ton of bumps along that on the way that were just like, oh my gosh, like how many hiccups are we going to run into here? But as I think of these other two business ideas that I have in mind, it's exciting. It's exciting to know, like, who do I need to talk to? What do I need to, and maybe I should talk to you about it. Maybe just not on your podcast.
Yeah, we'll set up the mic.
Because, hey, you might have a guy.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's really exciting about it is just like the fact that you've got an idea. Can you see it come together? Will it come together? And when it does, what's it going to look like in the end? You know, not that it will ever be ended, but like once it's up and running.
That's so awesome. So I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah.
It's good to get to know you a little bit more, and this probably won't be the last time that we talk.
Of course not.
And so at some point, I'm going to grill you more for these other two business ideas that I won't share online. But so if someone wants to come and see you do whatever the things
The services
are,
that I provide.
yeah,
Yes.
so all those things that I don't understand, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can book an appointment on giddyskin.com, or you can find us on Facebook or Instagram, or the phone number that is associated anywhere with the business. You can also text or call that number as well.
Sweet. All right. Thank you, Emily.
Yeah.